Now, back to this being a parent's nightmare. On April 23, 2025, as been alleged by the complaint, Celeste, a 14-year-old at that time, went to Mr. Burke's house in the Hollywood Hills. She was never heard from again.
Hello. Okay. Hello, and welcome to ShadeCore, where we discuss true crime and all things shady. I'm your host, Morgan Vale. Today I'm going to talk about a truly troubling, tragic case that has shocked our nation and is all over the news. It is the story of 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez, whose life was taken too soon. She was a child found in the front trunk of a Tesla, registered to the singer-songwriter David, spelt D4vd. And I briefly talked about this case 5 months ago, but the investigation was still ongoing. So we will revisit this case with everything that's come to light today. And today is April 22nd at the time of recording. Months have passed since the discovery of Celeste's body on September 8th, 2025. The autopsy was performed the same day when her body was discovered. It had been decomposed and dismembered beyond recognition. So as of today, April 22nd, Chief Medical Examiner in Los Angeles, Dr. Odi Ukbo, Dr. Odi Ukbo, who was the medical examiner, listed the cause and manner of death as being, and I quote, multiple penetrating injuries caused by an object or objects. Ukbo also stated that they were aware of these autopsy findings since December 9th, 2025. That's 4 months prior to today. Him and those at his office had been prevented from releasing the details of the autopsy findings due to LAPD requesting that the judge place a security hold on the findings as the investigation was ongoing. So that's something that is interesting because there's been a lot of talk about the medical chief examiner and LAPD butting heads on this case. And there's been a lot of criticism about that. LAPD police argued that it was necessary to maintain the integrity of the investigation. So I'm curious to hear more about what their plan was with this, keeping this information from the public. So in a statement, Dr. Odi Ukbo stated, after several months, I'm grateful this information can now be released not only to the public, but also the grieving family enduring the loss. It is unfathomable that they've had to wait this long to learn what happened to their daughter. The transparency of the information contained in our findings and reports is essential for empowering the community to make informed changes to effectively reduce fear and allow the community to take informed action. Making the department, he says a lot, okay, so I'm going to say it all. Making the department's information publicly available is not just about accountability, it is about social justice and prevention. By ensuring access to this information, we strengthen our ability to learn, to act, and ultimately to prevent the tragic loss of life. I want to express my gratitude to our partner agencies for taking the necessary steps of filing an order with the court to make the disclosure possible. So that last part really got me, where he says, for taking necessary steps to make the disclosure possible. I'm just thinking, it sounds like there were a lot of obstacles in the way when it came to releasing this information that they had for so long. And did they have to fight LAPD on this matter? And in case you have no idea what I'm talking about, not to worry. I'm going to catch you up to speed today. This story takes place in Los Angeles, California, and the case broke wide open on September 8th, 2025, when workers at an impound lot called Hollywood Tow noticed a putrid smell coming from a car at their workplace. The car was a Model Y 2003 black Tesla that had been towed to the impound lot, which was located on 1015 North Mansfield Avenue near La Brea Avenue in Hollywood. After neighbors in the area had seen it sitting around for about a month. So the car was sitting for about a month before it was towed to Hollywood Tow. And then it sat there for approximately 5 days. And with each passing day, the smell got worse until it was unbearable. And the manager of Hollywood Tow had to call the police to come and investigate it because of a strong smell of decay and the presence of flies around the Tesla. Detectives who arrived at the scene would discover a horrific finding that would shock the nation, because inside of the Tesla was the body of a brutally dismembered, severely decomposed victim, who would later be identified as 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez. Wrapped in a black cadaver plastic bag was her head and torso, and in a second plastic bag were her limbs and other remains. So who was Celeste? She was reported missing from Lake Elsinore. Celeste was known as a runaway. She had parents that were originally from El Salvador. She was from a town, Lake Elsinore, in western Riverside County. For those of you who aren't around California a lot, it's a county, western Riverside County, that is roughly 70 miles southeast of Los Angeles and 60 miles north of San Diego. People described her as a loving daughter, a cousin, a sister, and yeah, she had a brother. She has a brother. Celeste has been reported missing several times. She was also reported missing since 2024, when she was only 13 years old, to the Riverside County Sheriff's Office. Friends and neighbors shared that she was last seen in west of Riverside County on April 5th, 2024, and she was last ever reportedly seen alive on April 23rd, 2025, entering David's home in the Hollywood Hills. And that, later we'll learn, is also April 23rd is also the date that people are speculating that she was unalived, sadly. She would have turned 15 years old, but she never saw that day. On September 7th, which was the day before they found her body, she would have turned 15, but she never came to see that day. And it's said that she is believed to have been unalive for several weeks before her body was even found, just sitting there in that car. After Celeste was identified, the police suspected foul play and launched a homicide investigation because the body was dismembered and decomposed. It also made the process delayed, as you hear LAPD explain later on. So this led to a lot of frustration among netizens. And the frustration stemmed from the fact that all the clues led to one person, and that was the person that the Tesla belonged to, none other than David Burke, more known for his singer-songwriter alias David, spelled D4vd. So he's famous. In fact, he was on the road touring to Minneapolis for his album debut, Withered, around the time that Celeste's body was discovered. He is a singer that rose to fame following his participation in the gaming community. He had a Discord and Twitch account and was known for gaming. And he eventually started writing his own songs because he was tired of, when you live stream, you can't use copywritten songs. It silences those recordings. So he started writing his own songs, and these went viral overnight. He would later go on to have music featured in the season 2 Netflix animation series Arcane, which is based on the video game League of Legends. He also wrote music for the highly popularized video game Fortnite, and stated that D4vd was spelt the way it was because 4, having the number 4, would enhance optimize search engines, so he would appear more often for his viewers, and also because 4 is to express the 4 universes that he has created in his mind, which makes me wonder if one of the universes is a prison, but I don't know. He was originally signed to Darkroom and Interscope Records. Both labels have dropped him since all of this negative information started to surface of him after Celeste was found. So going forward from that, on Tuesday, April 21st of this year, Celeste's family attorney, Patrick Steinfeld, gave a public statement on behalf of her parents, Jesus Rivas and Mercedes Martinez. And this was their first public statement ever since David's arrest. And they stated, "We miss her deeply. All we want is justice for Celeste." So they thanked the Los Angeles Police Department as well as the District Attorney's Office of Los Angeles for their hard work, and stated, "We would also like to thank the people of Lake Elsinore for their support. Celeste was a beautiful, strong girl who loved to sing and dance. Every Friday night was movie night, and we spent wonderful times together. We love her very much, and she always told us she loved us. We miss her deeply. All we want is justice for Celeste. So, heartbreaking case. Like, this is a child, should have been out dancing, singing with her friends, and she is now not alive anymore because one person wanted to control her. And yeah, this case is tragic. It's being prosecuted by Deputy District Attorney Beth Silverman of the Major Crimes Division and is continuing to be investigated by the Los Angeles Police Department's Robbery Homicide Division. So David, after 7 months since Celeste was found in his frunk, he is finally arrested on Thursday, April 16th in connection to her death. And he pled not guilty at his first arraignment, which is his first ever court appearance on Monday afternoon. He's in jail. He's held without bail, and his preliminary hearing is set for Thursday, which is tomorrow. So I will be staying posted on this case. So the Los Angeles District Attorney, Nathan Hochman, shared a lot about the case that's unfolding, and that's been all over the news. He stated that prosecutors allege David used a deadly and dangerous weapon, a sharp instrument, which we know now has been confirmed by Dr. Ukbo at the medical chief examiner's office. His charges carry very severe sentences, so we will touch on that soon. Hochman explained that the investigation includes physical as well as forensic and digital evidence, which will be presented in court. The murder was committed for financial gain, as the evidence will show in court. And last week, the medical examiner's office ruled the teen's death a homicide, which we already know. And now we'll talk about the charges against David, which are very serious.
Today, I am announcing the charges against David Anthony Burke, the musician known as David, spelled D4vd, in connection with the brutal and horrific murder of Celeste, a 14-year-old at that time. Sexual acts, lewd and lascivious sexual acts with an individual under 14 years old, and mutilating a human remains of a body. Before I get into the description of these charges and their seriousness, I want to look at this as a parent. I am a parent of 3 children, and a parent's nightmare is a situation where your daughter goes out one night and never comes back. As we will show in a court of law, and what I also want to make sure about that the understanding of these charges is clear, is my description of these charges is not evidence that we are going to present in court. These charges, in fact, will not be evidence in the court. Evidence will be the witness testimony, the documents, and different types of admissible testimony that we will admit into court in the prosecution, and if it leads to the eventual trial of Mr. Burke, to convince a jury of 12 people beyond a reasonable doubt that each and every one of these charges is true, as well as the special allegations and circumstances that have been alleged. Now, back to this being a parent's nightmare. On April 23, 2025, as been alleged by the complaint, Celeste, a 14-year-old at that time, went to Mr. Burke's house in the Hollywood Hills. She was never heard from again.
So it definitely sounds like the LA District Attorney's Office has their work cut out for them, because they have to convince 12 jurors that David is guilty beyond reasonable doubt for everything that he is being charged with. The first one is the first-degree murder with special circumstances, and LA District Attorney Nathan Hochman goes on to list the 3 circumstances. Number 1, lying in wait in so the allegation refers to David inviting Celeste to come to his Hollywood Hills home on April 23rd, 2025. The second one is committing a murder for financial gain, and that one is pretty clear. DA Hochman stated Mr. Burke wished to maintain his very lucrative musical career that Celeste was threatening on that night, April 23rd. And the third special circumstance is murdering a witness to a crime. And the witness to the crime would be Celeste, because Hochman said there's evidence showing that Celeste was a witness in an investigation of sexual acts committed by Burke. So that makes me wonder if there is going to be conversation about trafficking, because I've been seeing allegations, suspicions that maybe David was trafficking Celeste or other women. So I'm very interested to hear more about this case as the trial unfolds. So the second charge is for continuous lewd and lascivious acts with a minor under 14. So again, Celeste was 13 years old when she was believed to have been dating David, who would have been, I believe, 19 or 20 years old. So there's about a 7-year age gap between them. So they're saying there's evidence that will be presented in court that David SA'd Celeste, a minor under 14 years old at the time that this happened. Then there's the third charge, mutilation of human remains, which obviously, tragically, we see with her body being dismembered in the Tesla. And the severity is, the highest punishment that he could get would be the death penalty or life in prison without the possibility of parole. And that's very serious coming from Los Angeles District Attorney. Like, I haven't heard about the death penalty in a minute. Correct me if I'm wrong, in California. It's said allegedly that David's parents are fully in support of him. He has teamed up with attorneys Blair Burke, Marilyn Bednarski, and Regina Peter. And in case, for those of you who don't know, Blair Burke is an A-list criminal attorney. I mean, got to do what you got to do, got to make that money. But she has worked with some high profile celebrities. Are you ready? Lindsay Lohan, Kanye West, Mel Gibson, Harvey Weinstein, Britney Spears. So she made a public statement stating the actual evidence in this case will show that David Burke did not murder Celeste Rivas Hernandez, and he was not the cause of her death. We will vigorously defend David's innocence. So I'm curious to know what the defense is going to say to convince us that he's innocent, because it's becoming really hard to believe, especially when you talk about what people have been talking about for months since this case broke wide open. And we'll go over them. David, is speculated to have been romantically involved with Celeste. No doubt. And are these all coincidences? It would be normal to think one of them is a coincidence, but all of them combined seems more likely not a coincidence. Long before Celeste was found, David had really gloomy lyrics that, are like Gen Z, sad boy, indie, love ballads, whatever. And people didn't think much of it because that's not uncommon in this day and age. But now that her body was identified and he is the primary suspect in this case, it's not aging well. Let's just put it that way. The lyrics to his 2022 hit song, Romantic Homicide, go, "In the back of my mind, I killed you and I didn't even regret it. I can't believe I said it, but it's true. I hate you." He also has a song called Celeste, which never fully was officially released, probably because it was not a good idea to do that, but it got leaked in December of 2023 and began to resurface around the time that Celeste's body was discovered in early September of 2025, and the lyrics express the writer's obsession with a girl named Celeste, and he sings, "Oh, Celeste, the girl with my name tattooed on her chest. Smell her on my clothes like cigarettes. I hear her voice each time I take a breath. I'm obsessed. Oh, Celeste, afraid you'll only love me when undressed, but you look so damn gorgeous in that dress. Missing you so much makes me depressed, but I digress." And again, this girl was 13 at the time, and that tells you a little bit about David. Then there's the matching tattoos. The two had matching tattoos of the sound shh. And for those of you who are not watching on YouTube and can't see what I'm doing with my fingers, I'm raising my index finger to point to my nose in the shushing motion. The two had a matching tattoo that said shh, where the right index finger is. And again, a lot of people apparently have this tattoo. Apparently Rihanna does. I didn't know that, but maybe that's a coincidence. But then there's the music videos. He has a lot of controversial lyrics and music videos when it comes to this case because they seem eerily connected to this investigation that's ongoing, especially particularly in one of his music videos for his song One More Dance. This video has really not aged well. Some netizens have stated that it's like a documentary. It's like watching a documentary now because of how eerily creepy of a resemblance it has to the investigation with Celeste. Because the video released in February 2025 shows David covered in blood as he drags a body along the ground before stuffing it in the trunk of a vehicle. So, very reminiscent of how Celeste's body was discarded, sadly. The official video spiked in views too after this case opened because of how eerily similar it is to the investigation. Then there's the live streams. Like I said, David was big on Twitch, and one of the live streams he had on Twitch, which he deleted, was actually screen recorded and shared, and now you can see it almost everywhere. There's even a body analysis psychiatry breakdown of the video that you can find on YouTube, and I'll link it below. But in the video, David is joking around with Celeste and places one arm on her shoulder and says, "Hey, that's controversial," in regards to something she said. Celeste, you recognize I shouldn't say it's Celeste, but it looks identical to Celeste Rivas, and she has a black hoodie on. She's kind of hiding her face as she did in a lot of his videos. Probably because of the age difference that was taboo because she's a child. But he says, that's controversial. I media trained you. And he has one arm on Celeste. And then she says, it's controversial that you RAPE kids. And she kind of shocks herself with this response. I mean, she's a child. Who knows what else is going on in her life? But she starts laughing, covers her mouth. And David starts laughing. You know, he's kind of shocked, but trying to play it cool. And then you see him wave his hands at the camera and he says, delete everything, delete everything.
I media trained you.
No, you didn't.
That's controversial.
It's controversial of kids.
Really good.
Okay,
It's been a good one. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Mwah, 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 mwah. Oh my! Delete everything. Delete everything. Everything goes.
So you can see that video if you search it pretty easily, and I recommend watching it if you're a visual person like me. So there's the lyrics, there's the music videos, there's the matching tattoos, there's the live streams. And if that's not enough, the two have often been seen together outside of the live streams. For example, in June 2024, Celeste was reportedly seen backstage at a sold-out show of David's at the Fonda Theater in Los Angeles. And this guy was like touring everywhere. He was like opening for the singer SZA. He played at Coachella, I think, in 2025. I don't know what year it is. I'm not a fan, so I never even heard about him before this case, but apparently he's very famous. And then there's Steve Fisher, the private investigator that's been very outspoken about the fact that he thinks David had help with dismembering and getting rid of Celeste's body. So there is the situation that occurred with David's influencer live streamer friend, Neil Langston, a 23-year-old online streamer who was featured in a lot of David's live streams and videos, music videos. He was arrested by 7 police officers in Helena, Montana at his mother's house and transported to Los Angeles. The reason for his arrest was for failing to appear as a witness in Los Angeles court regarding the Celeste case by the Homicide Robbery Division. So since then, Neo has distanced himself, removing all photos of David from his social media profiles, and he has openly stated that he doesn't want to talk more about the situation since it's a further ongoing investigation, but he's made it clear that he doesn't like having his name associated with David any longer, and that he has kept all his receipts. So I am curious to know if he's going to be a witness. Steve Fisher, the private investigator, expressed concern that this person may have been involved in Celeste's unaliving, but is now getting immunity. And then another person that Steve Fisher has speculated and other people have speculated as being involved is David's former girlfriend, Asia Collins, who I just learned about today, but she is the former girlfriend of David and has been involved in public discourse regarding Celeste's passing. And apparently, people are really accusing her of helping cover up for Celeste Rivas' murder and calling her an alleged suspect. And apparently, she's getting harassed online. She's spoken out on social media saying she's no longer friends with David and respects the investigation and is experiencing severe harassment. She also said that she wants justice for Celeste and is working silently to assist in that, while noting she's been a victim of grooming. So, again, I'm wondering what kind of grooming she's talking about, if David groomed her, if David groomed Celeste, or if she's talking about a different situation altogether. So we will learn more as the case unfolds about Neo and Asia's involvement with the Celeste situation. It also looks very suspicious, at least to me, and I think other people, that David owned 2 properties in Texas where he's originally from, and he has now transferred. Well, actually, right after Celeste's body was discovered, he transferred his properties in Texas to his mother on September 18th and September 22nd. So there's talk about whether transferring the property to his mother helps make it a little more difficult for his property to get seized or searched. I'm sure they still can, but there's talk about that. And for all these reasons, netizens have been very critical about the fact that it's taken so long to make an arrest in this Celeste case. Celeste's mother, mind you, also when she reported Celeste missing, stated that Celeste was mentioning a boyfriend by the name of David, but that she had never met the boyfriend. Celeste's brother had stated we all knew she was dating a guy named David. So the age difference, all of these clues that lead to David, the car that she was found in being registered to his Texas address, all not looking good, and I'm curious to see how the defense is going to back him up on this. So, many people have been very skeptical. So the LAPD chief, Jim McDonnell, has really had to come out and set the record straight from his point of view, or from the LAPD's point of view. He stated publicly, "I want to be clear about something. My duty is not to fuel speculation, it's to deliver justice, and that requires patience and discipline on everybody's part." He also further went on to say that all the online speculating couldn't be further, some of it wasn't way off from the truth and harmed the investigation. So he really encouraged people to take a step back. He confirmed that there's been a lot of harsh criticism on LAPD, and he said the substantial amount of time that passed between her death and discovery meant that crucial evidence had degraded or disappeared. But remember that, Dr. Ukba from the medical examiner's office was saying that they had the results, the autopsy findings, as early as December of 2025. So again, some of that is conflicting, but he basically stresses that the case has been very extraordinarily complex, difficult, and they had to take the necessary means to avoid jeopardizing the case. So I'm sure we'll learn more as the case unfolds, I hope. And I hope that we figure out why there was that security hold on the autopsy findings. LAPD Chief McDonnell also added that the year-long gap between the discovery and her body included a 6-month wait for the toxicology report results. I mean, it wasn't a year. It was like 7 months for the arrest, right? It hasn't been a year because it's not September yet. But he declined to confirm whether the lyrics to David's romantic homicide song will be used against David in court, which just gets me picturing somebody yelling that at at a press conference or a public hearing to the LAPD chief. What about the lyrics to romantic homicide? So he's declined to state if those will be used as evidence. Recently, he did state that a criminal complaint alleges the essay that David committed against Celeste occurred on or between September 7th, 2023 to September 7th, 2024. So that is like a year-long gap, and I'm just wondering what happened between September 7th and April, around the time in 2025 when Celeste is believed to have been unalive. Like, what? That's got me scratching my head. So that's the update I have for you, and that was kind of the runaround, so I hope it was easy to follow. I try to make it as easy to follow as I could with the time I had, but I can't help but wonder how many cases like this are happening in Los Angeles. Because, first of all, Celeste was a runaway, and who knows how much longer this case would have taken if David wasn't a high profile guy. And because she'd been reported as a runaway 3 times. And on a side note, this is very eerie, but maybe it sheds a light on how common these things are. There was another body found in another car in another tow yard in South Los Angeles that same September in 2025, just a week within the week that Celeste's body was found. A victim was found inside a blue Honda Civic and partially burned. And as it later turned out, this was a separate missing persons report. But it's just very odd and frightening. And it makes me wonder of this, like, are there other stories connected to this? Are there other women that were groomed by David? Was there a group of people behind this? So I will be keeping an eye on this. Please let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. What do you think about the death penalty with David's case and Celeste's case? Do you think that Celeste was being groomed? What do you think about the charges? Please let me know in the comment section below. And I look forward to next week. So stay tuned. And if you like, I was thinking about putting polls up on, what kind of cases to cover. So let me know in the comments if that's something you're interested in as well. So you're listening to ShadeCore. I'm your host, Morgan Vale. Thanks so much. And I hope you stay safe and have a good week. Bye.